Okay, Joyce, thank you again so much for being here. And before I have you tell your story more a little bit, and I want to share just a little something with the listeners because, yeah, when I get interviewed on podcasts or when I talk about my story, you are actually a pretty integral part of that, or at least the experience that you helped facilitate. So whenever I talk about my main spiritual awakening, I mean, yeah, it started happening before I met you and went to like that weekend with you. But it really was,
Awesome.
the experience at that weekend that really shifted everything, and opened up a whole new world. And that was kind of, you know, the most pivotal, like, aha
Moment.
kind of moment that I had, because it was just, I mean, right, like that trauma release that was happening was insane. You
Yes, it
remember
was
that? Like my
awesome.
body was just
Yeah,
like convulsing and
it
shaking, and like
was. It was
I was
amazing.
like, what is all this? So yeah, one little side note for anyone who listens, like that's, if I mention that event, or if I mention Joyce, this is who I'm talking about. So can you, yeah, share us, your story, your background, how you
Yes.
got into doing what you do, wherever you want to take it. Let's go.
So, well, hi to everybody. My name is Joyce Haddad, and I'm so happy, Mike, to have you in this, for us to have met during our soul journeys. It was awesome. It was really awesome. So, I've been doing this work for about 16 years. My awakening started when my father got very sick from cancer, and I was about 24 years old, and I was really disconnected from my soul essence. I come from a Middle Eastern background. And so my whole life, I kind of depended on my father. And it was just like, oh, okay, what my father said, I was doing what he wanted us to do, and business wise and all that stuff. And so until one day he got sick, he got this really bad cancer, and he had a year of life left, according to, science. And so that kind of made me a little nuts and crazy. I was kind of like so disconnected that I felt like I was dying with him. That just resulted into one synchronicity of being connected to the first teacher that I had, which I went from not knowing absolutely anything spiritual to doing psychic surgeries. So it was really like, oh, wow, they got me into like heavy like stuff. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? But it was really powerful. I stayed and I released so much DNA ancestor pain, and just, I understood about all the subtle bodies, all the energetic bodies, the emotional bodies, the biology, the neuroscience of the brain, the neurocircuits of the brain, everything. And it's a communication, right? And then, so I started kind of, my excuse was like, hey, I'm going to help my father heal, right? At the end, I helped myself. And of course, through this process, I ended up applying everything that I was learning with him, and that helped him awaken, and his lifespan became 10 years instead of one. His type of cancer was mantle cell lymphoma, a very aggressive type of cancer that has absolutely no healing. And it was cool because I was studying. I became like super advocate about learning about so many different things. And then I started studying psychology. I became a psychologist. I learned about biology. I learned about energy. I learned about emotions. I learned about consciousness, where it's at, how it's communicating to the body, what's up with the brain, what's going on with the mind, where is the cells, and how do we get sick? Why do we get sick? And then it just became just an overflow of magical ecstasies. And then all of a sudden, I'm, doing this for a living, from going to being business and traveling here to China and all this stuff, and manufacturing products. Now I actually manufacture wellness. So it's a beautiful thing. And so I met you in that journey because you took a course of one of the courses that I teach, and we all became like this huge soul family. It was a very, very amazing. It was amazing.
Yeah,
And
definitely.
yeah,
And I love the parallel too, where you said you didn't really know much about this stuff, and then
yeah,
all of a sudden to like being in the thick of it. And that's how, my experience was the same too. I didn't really know any of this background stuff, and then all of a sudden, yeah, after I left your event, like next week, I'm working with, people who've been doing healing work for,
of
years, and
course.
like know way more about it. But I'm like, ended up being like facilitating for them. I was like, how did I go from like nothing to this so quickly?
You just
Um,
remembered quickly. It was a remembrance, Mike. It's just, I think You know it. It's a knowing that it just activates. So
Yeah.
I don't think there's a level. I just think that your inner wisdom just came out completely, and boom, you're instant connected to the levels that you need to be in, and that's exactly what it is. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, and so when people ask about how to, like, hone their gifts or their psychic senses, my answer is to do like the trauma work, because
You
that's what
have to.
happened to me. Because it wasn't like I didn't like study these things and like refining. I mean, that comes. It's important to like do that perhaps a lot afterwards. But for me, it just opened up by having doing this kind of, a lot of like this ancestor DNA stuff came up. And I didn't really even know what a past life was, hadn't heard much about it.
Mm-hmm.
And but all of a sudden, like, my body is having this very, very visceral reaction to
Mm-hmm.
to something in regards to that. So I'm like, well, okay, well, there's something here. And then that like opened up all these senses. So I think that's the best way to do open your psychic senses and your gifts, is to
It's a
do that
soul
healing work.
orgasm, what you had, because it's a soul orgasm. It's you experience your soul on a physical level. So then, of
Yeah.
course, your body's going to start re, activating the frequency. It's kind of like a pressure cooker. It brings in the prana, and then it starts to shake, and boom, it's like, whew, right? And all of a sudden, whew, you're awake, and you're just feeling all of these, your sensories are all activated. And there's a fusion, which we were talking about, the soul star. Your soul star just opened up, and you received all of your knowingness from your higher self.
Yeah. I remember
Yeah, it's powerful.
Susie even said I smelled different when I got back because it's such a
I
different
bet,
person.
I bet, I totally bet. I'm telling you.
And so tell me more a little bit about that journey that you were sharing, like with your father, but more so, like, what are some of your core wounds or things that you had to heal through, and then how
Ooh.
does that translate into how you help people now, or like what you kind of like focus on, or was there some type of purpose that was born from that?
Well, yeah, definitely. I had a lot of trauma, so I was very disconnected to my divine feminine, and I really um, my divine feminine and masculine was completely out of balance. I mean, I had a lot of masculine energy. I was trying to prove myself to my father. I needed to be enough for my father. I had all these belief systems of what a woman should be like. And then my mother took a role also because of my father. There was this big, leadership of castrating beliefs for the woman. And not only in my lifetime, but also my many lifetimes before, my Egyptian lifetimes and so forth. And then, of course, my ancestors, all these women, they were all like married, and none of them were like really living their gifts, and none of them were really acknowledging their inner knowing, and they were just dominated by the masculine energy. Nothing good, nothing bad. It was simply what it was. So that made me really angry, really freaking angry. I was really angry, and I was really resenting my father, and I was resenting myself. I mean, this whole thing was more about me. I was like, I'm so angry. I had all these gifts. I was writing music, singing. I was wanting to do so much, and I stopped myself from all of that. So I kind of like, I put myself on lockdown and said, you know what? Okay, fine. I'll continue. I got beat so many times, so many times. Um, I remember I would be called a slut for belly dancing and stuff like that, because I love movement. I love to dance.
By
I'm a
who?
musician. And so I was like, what? I mean, these belief systems. So then, of course, after jumping into this spirituality, right, and this realm of like knowingness, yeah, boom, I understood. I have a soul contract with my father. He's teaching me everything that I needed to, or I chose to receive this physical abuse and this verbal abuse in order for me to come out as a goddess or a leader of my industry. And I needed those behaviors in order for me to integrate what I got out of it, that lesson. But then I learned that if I didn't integrate it, then I would keep repeating the same crap over and over, because my soul still needed that conflict in order to receive that positive lesson that I was gaining. So the gain without the, no pain, no gain. Nowadays, we don't need that crap. We just, you really can learn without struggle. You can learn without conflict. We can live our best selves in a different way. So, my gifts started to develop. Then I was afraid of my gifts. I had tons of trauma. I was fragmented. So a lot of mental issues, a lot of issues with ourselves becoming our best selves is because we're so defragmented. So we have fractals all over the place. When a trauma occurs, there's a split in the energy field, and there's a split in the mental field. So there's a split in personality plus in energy. So when that splits, where is it? But it's not in me, it's not here. That's why I'm feeling like lost and unwhole and broken. But no one is broken. We're here to pick up our fractals and our particles everywhere we've left them. And they could be in people, places, things, situations, under the grounds. I mean, my work has been incredible. I have so much data of people losing their fractals in war, losing their fractals in when they died, or when somebody got, they hit you. What happens? It splits, it jumps. So it's out of my energy subtle body, and then where does it go? It could be in that person, but it could also be lost in time in that place where things happened. So it's kind of like, I have fun with this, and I tell my students and my people around me, I'm like, we're detectives of our soul. Everybody wants to live their best life. Some people don't even know how, because they're too traumatized to be able to know how to do it. That's why you come in, I come in. We've gone through our trauma work. We've picked up our fragments. And we're still doing it. Believe me, we're still doing it. Especially now with this whole COVID thing. I mean, I've worked on myself a couple of fears that I've popped up in my head, but we're still working on it, But it's really interesting. It's really interesting.
Yeah, I really love that explanation of the fractals and how things splitting. And I got chills too when you on a couple different things. One, because it related to me, just like the loss of these fractals from something like war, reminds me of my experience in Afghanistan. And then also I got when you said like this, like personality too. Could you touch on that a little bit, or explain a little more? Because I got some chills there. So let's see how that relates.
So that is an alter fragment. What does that mean? That a fragment carries personality, and then it has also just a fragment which has no personality. It's just energy. So it's a piece of your soul, your vital soul energy, and a piece of your personality energy that can split. So this is why a lot of people have issues with, wait a second, why am I feeling emotions of someone else? Why am I have like thoughts and suicidal things. And I have a lot of kids right now, suicide children, 19, 18, and most of them have alter fragments, and they have some kind of dark energies that are stuck to their bioenergetic bodies. When you release that and you bring you release that fractal that doesn't belong to you, boom, you're back. It's like you have no influence. Exterior, I call that in my book, foreign energies that are like invested in you. You give them back, and then you pick up yours. It's a basic exchange. When you release the filaments, you actually do a swap. Here, give me back my power, and I'll give you back mine. But before we do that, let's recalibrate in the universe, and then align ourselves back to our original blueprint. So it's super powerful. One of the examples that I tell people all the time is, I'll give you two. I had a lady who lost her husband in the Twin Towers, the whole New York thing. So her husband, who knows how it happened, explosions, people throwing themselves out of their buildings and all that. What happens when a body impacts like that, boom, or an accident? What happens to those fractals? There's an energy fragmentation, but there's also bone fragmentation. And in your bone is all of your DNA. There's so much information in bone. You've been in war and all that. When they find bones and animal bones, what do they find? Everything. So when people defragment in an accident, the fragments, poof, they go in the air, and they're kind of like floating, literally, where? In the quantum field. And in this quantum field, what do? They reattach. It's like magnets, because remember, we are electromagnetic energies. So where do they go? Boom, they just gravitate to something. If you happen to be in that area, you might be receiving a bunch of foreign frequencies that don't belong there. So whatever that personality is, that person's depressed, or if that person was suicidal, or if that person's got a bunch of stuff, you're feeling that vibration. And this goes with organs as well. When people get donated an organ, all of that has frequencies, and it does have personality. It has belief systems, and it even has desires. I mean, it's powerful stuff if we go in depth to it.
And so, since this show, is a lot about healthy empath, a lot of empaths listening.
Right.
So if there are fractals floating around in like different places, and so as an empath who's extra sensitive to these energies, can you just by walking through different places be picking up other people's fractals?
Yes, absolutely. You can pick up the energies, and you can also return them. You can just feel certain stuff. As an empath, what you should do is really just be conscious of what it feels like. And if it feels scary, literally just release them back, and just, ask universe, creation, whatever belief it is in a higher power you have, to cleanse and restore and release them, and, send them back to where it belongs. But you always want to send back, like, back in the days, people would say, no, let's give it back to them 3 times fold. No, we don't do that anymore. We clean, we restore, and we send it back to where it belongs. It's not my movie. I don't care how karma will deal with their process. But, as empaths, we automatically are sweeping the planet because we're higher frequencies. So as we pass by, we cleanse people, we cleanse their auras. People start to cry next to you, right? Why are they crying? Well, your energy is sweeping theirs.
Yeah, I like that.
It's so cool.
Yeah, important to remember. That's what I have remind people too. It's like you're not feeling these things because you're some type of, you have like a disease, right? Like it's like something, this is like something bad happened to you. Yeah, it's so you can like do this kind of cleaning of the collective consciousness.
Correct.
And that's why it's so important to have these like foundational kind of self-care and health practices, so that it doesn't turn into disease.
You do, especially if you're working with people. You have to clean yourself a lot because you're working with people. So you're picking up. It's kind of like a vacuum.
And then something else was popping up when you were talking too. So I want to share this with you and then see what how you would explain it. Yes. So it's I guess you could call it, one of my core shadow like elements, like parts of like my shadow and my darkness. And I experienced this. I became very intimate with it in a peyote ceremony.
Oh.
Yeah, and it showed me that I had this whole experience of like thinking that the peyote like wasn't any good, and I wasn't feeling anything the whole time, and it ended up twisting into me being like this huge the biggest pity party you could have ever imagined in your life, and I just went to like these deep feelings of so utterly worthless, and then like why
deep dark moment.
What's the point of living? Like nobody would ever want to work with me. Like what could I even do to make money? Maybe pick up dog poop. I don't know. And just like all these like crazy things. And then at the end, and this whole time, like I had no idea that I was like, experienced like tripping, I guess, or experiencing the medicine. I thought it wasn't working. And then at the end, I stood by the fire, and then I just kind of hear like, okay, now leave it all behind. And then, I started to learn more and more about this, and even continue to learn more about this experience, because it's the kind of like the pattern, the mode that I go into when something like bad happens or that things don't go my way. That's the kind of reactivity shadow element, when it becomes this very kind of like self-defeating, like, what's the point of anything? The whole world's out to get me. Like God doesn't like me, blah, blah, blah. And so, like that shadow aspect of that part of my personality, like how would you, and this was definitely related to my paternal ancestry. So how would you explain that from these kind of the way that you've been explaining things?
Like feeling sorry for yourself, right? Like hearing like really like, oh my God, like the like for all of your experiences, right? Is that what you're trying to say? From all of the experiences that you went through?
No, not even necessarily. I don't even know. It was just like something I was definitely like, I feel like I was born with, but it's like if
Mm-hmm.
something, but like, so like, yeah, this like, medicine was showing me this
Right.
aspect, this personality that exists within me.
Mm-hmm.
And so is that a fractal
Yes.
personality? Is that from like ancestral trauma or like, and then
It,
how do I, cause it'll still pop up, not like it did before, but, maybe, every so often, but not nearly as long or nearly as intense. So yeah, I'm just curious as to like what your
it could be
explanation of
anything.
something like that
It
is.
could be anything. It could be that you've picked up some kind of past life that you have memory for sure. It's memory. It's a memory. So it's a communication into your body, your avatar. You're feeling it.
Mm-hmm.
Emotions, remember, emotions are the communicators of the body. The mind communicates to the brain. The brain then sends signals into the nerve. Your automatic nervous system is the one that's acting. So where's your subconscious in your body? Your emotions, feeling, and it's activating. What is it activating? Ooh, that's the thing. It could be activating ancestral stuff. All our genetics is in our pineal gland. So everything that's, inherited from all our ancestors is right in our pineal gland. And so it could be information from your father, your grandfather, anything that they've lived and now it's activated in you, or simultaneously it could be activating a past life. But remember something. It's very important. We're living everything together. We're living past, present, interdimensional lifetimes. We're living simultaneous timelines, which is crazy because we were talking about this yesterday about I cut my finger the other day during COVID. I was cutting chicken and I got infected. My finger has not healed for the past 3 months. Not that it's not healed, it's there's scar tissue there. The other day I was in a meditation and I was sitting there with a friend of mine. We were doing some hypnosis together. And all of a sudden I started to feel like a lifetime where I felt like I was tortured and my finger was swollen. So then I said, well, maybe I'm picking up some kind of past life memory that activated. And so what I'm feeling right now with my finger and this pain that I'm feeling has nothing to do with what I cut my finger, It has to do with my past, like something that triggered, came to the surface and now I'm feeling it so I can heal it.
Mm.
So what I can recommend to you and people who have this, like, you have awareness, create awareness. What am I feeling and where is it coming from? Let's do digging. Let's become detectives of what the heck I'm feeling. Is it mine or is it my father? Is this an imposter energy? And who's the imposter? Who is it? My father, my grandfather? Is it me? And then you're going to figure it out. And then you're going to transmute and transform it with grace and love, because we can't destroy any energy. We know that energy can't be destroyed, but we can transform it for sure and integrate it. All you got to do is integrate. I don't believe in separating shadow. I believe you got to do shadow work. A lot of people are like, oh, let's do it. No, 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 no. This is bullshit. We got to look at our shadow, because here on earth, we're here to experience emotion. Nothing is like this ever. Every day we got a new thing going on. So what is it that it's triggering? What's reflecting? Let me figure it out, where it's coming from. Let's release it and let's move forward. And that's how we elevate. That's how we elevate. And medicine is crazy. I love it. I've done 4 ayahuasca ceremonies, and I'm done for now. But it shows you everything, and all at the same time. So it's like a boot camp of the soul.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
definitely it could be quite intense. And then yeah, I like the that explanation, and I know for me personally, I like that shadow element that you right because it was a lot of like these feelings of like worthlessness, and I can see patterns throughout the men in my family, and for me and like the way to work with that shadow is to love it, right, and to show it that it is worthy, and that means show myself that I am worthy and I
Yeah.
am capable of, and like so stepping into the opposite of that, which is what I'm doing right now, even with just
Yeah.
podcasting, working with people, and like, oh, like I am of use, right?
And where did it come from? When did you instill it? When did you get that? When did you instill that definition and that perception of unworthiness? You know what I'm saying? Because
Yeah.
that's where the trick is. If I know why, okay, I'm feeling unworthy, but why am I feeling unworthy? Was it because my father told me that I was unworthy, or was it because my mother told me that I was unworthy? Or did I feel unworthy because I had a relationship when I was younger and I was rejected? So that moment in time, I decided to make a rule for myself. I will no longer be vulnerable. So I rather just settle for less than to live my highest expectation of myself and stay on a lower level and just cleanse it right away. This is a process. We have to find out where it's at. Where did it come from? We got to be like the detectives, and then when we know, we just let it go and say, Mom, Dad, this is not mine. I'm totally deserving of it. And when we do this psychotherapy, energy alchemy, we should always add to our commands of transformation, 6 generations back and 6 generations forward. Because if I heal, then I want to make sure that my generation of masculine energy heals, right? For you. And in me, that my feminine generation also heals. So that in the future, my children also are released of the contract obligation that I am carrying and that I am living. And then that's how we change, history.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
I like it. That brought up another thing I was going to ask when you were sharing your story and with the divine feminine and the abuse. And so I am always interested in the karma of when it comes to children. And so you have 2 boys and no girls. Why do you think that is? What's going on there? I would almost think that you would have a girl so that you could, instill this in them
Incredible,
and
right?
teach them. So yeah, now you have 2 boys. So I guess you have to. Part of it is probably teaching them how to be the type of men who would treat the divine feminine right and to own the divine feminine within them. So I don't want to answer for you, but
No.
What's
That's
your take?
powerful. That's powerful, because what you just said is something that I didn't really think about, but you made me think right now. And it's like, yeah, I'm teaching these boys to be some badass men, to love their woman and to really honor who they are and honor the woman that they're with. Because a lot of the time, especially in my dad's side of the family, all the men in my dad's side, oh my God, they're married, but they're married since they're like young, and then they're not in love, and everyone's cheating on everybody. That's horrible. Who are you cheating? You're cheating on yourself. So if I definitely want to show my children, and they're old. My oldest is going to be 20, and my other one's going to be 16. They're on their way to an example, and they're clear. If I can get them to be clear of their God self, and if my active God will awaken their dormant God, then we can become awakened gods, all of us. Then there's no need for anything. Just basically, there's only a need to just be and live your purest form. And if we all live that way, then there's sacred union with the masculine and the feminine. I really believe that. Yeah.
I was listening to something the other day. I'm actually going to be interviewing her, and she was talking. I think she got the concept from probably Carl Jung's work, and talking about how for men, so the woman is the guide to the man's soul, and then also on an inward reflection of that. So for a man to be in touch with his soul and to embody the divine masculine, he has to embody his his female and the divine, the female within him and the divine feminine. And I really like that concept resonated a lot. Like
I
when
love
she was
that.
talking
Yeah.
about that. Yeah.
It's powerful.
So tell me a little bit about the book that you're actually not working on it really. It's coming out soon this year, you think?
It's coming out, I would say, like September.
Okay.
I'm still working on it. I'm still kind of in the end. I'm editing. I'm in that end phase and stuff like that. I'm flowing with it because, this whole pandemic thing really got me like working, writing full time. So it's something that I've been writing for a few years now, but now I really like kind of focused all my energy in it because I'm always doing retreats and I'm always, working and stuff like that. So I solely made a commitment with myself to just write and finish, because this technique, it needs to come out into the universe. And it's called Spiritual Divorces. It's the method. It's a healing method that I've put together for about all my life work, okay? And what I feel needs to be done so that the ascension process is faster. The book is called Untangled, and it's a powerful soul alchemy method to really release all filaments and soul webs that are entangled because of trauma, because of circumstances and stuff like that. Because a lot of people think that, oh yeah, I moved from that country, I left everything behind and I'm starting brand new. And this can go
Sure you
with
did.
any relationship or everything. It's bullshit, excuse my language, but it's not true, because we are entangled energetically. It's in the grid, the universal grid, we're all interconnected. So when two particles unite, they get entangled, and that it becomes very messy. So then the grid becomes messy. Your personal toroid energy and your grid, and then of course the universal energy, okay? So those filaments, kind of like a soul web, they run with information between two people, or a circumstance, or a trauma, or a war, or a country, or a pet, or somebody that lost a loved one. I mean, there's so much that I can tell you about this. And what I've learned is that before, shamans used to call them, okay, let's cut cords. Let's cut cords. So now you're not supposed to cut cords. So this is the information that I'm bringing in.
Ooh, tell me more.
When you cut a cord, you are breaking free. You cut it, right? You go, boom, you cut it. But what happens to the pieces that are still connected into my frequency and the pieces that are still connected in you? So what information that I've been receiving is that it's like a GPS. It's kind of like a vein. So it's really waves, okay? And these waves and these entanglements are transmitting information. So when I can show you with my hands, I think it's better. So when we fuse together, right? We create this kind of motion. And so this is connected to me and this is connected to you, let's say. And we are transmitting fibers and filaments and strands throughout the whole process. And it's kind of like a frequency transmission, okay? If I cut it, what happens? I cut it, right? But then it's kind of like hanging around. This information's here, this is information's here. And then there's information from you still connected to me, and there's still information from me still connected to you. So what happens is that I've seen how they reattach themselves. It's kind of like it has an imprint and it knows its way back to its original fusion. So when you and I, let's say, are flowing together, everything flows wonderful. When there's a break or there's a trauma, then this becomes like this. And then what happens, it's kind of like, the way that I see it, it's like a thrombosis, an energetic thrombosis. And so all the different filaments become knotted, the information becomes knotted, and the transmission between the two people is completely messy and completely full of anger, completely resented. And then, of course, the transmission to the grid is the same way. So every single person in the same position as you is feeling the frequencies, because we're all interconnected. So as I don't know, channeled whatever, my higher self information of how to disconnect, okay, and pick up your fractals from that situation and return them and really cleanse it. Oof, it's immediate. You neutralize the emotion. So the high voltage emotion in the body is released, and so is the entanglement. Now, the funny thing is, people are like, oh yeah, let's do it, right? But then what happens to all the other bodies and all the other timelines that we're connected and entangled to? So there's a whole process that I've created, and it's powerful, Mike. I have to like release those filaments from past lives, interdimensionals. We go into the original contracts of the two people or the situations. We go back in time into the trauma. We cleanse that over there. I mean, it's great. So it's all in my book. It's all in my book. This is what I do every day. And so I'm trying to make that book a self-help so people can actually do it. If I want a spiritual divorce, okay, the book will help you do that. And then obviously I'm going to teach it so people can become certified practitioners of this formula that will really help, ascend, especially with
Wonderful.
soulmates. Those are the big ones.
I'm just imagining people asking now, well, if you're not cutting it, what are you doing?
We're
So,
pulling. We're
yeah,
pulling.
I mean, I know
We're
the answer, but
pulling. Yeah, we're pulling, but there's more to just the pulling. We have to cleanse. It's kind of like, how we have dendrites and they're picking up
Mhm.
signals. We have to clean imprints and, clear the thrombosis, clear the energy knots that are around, find them where they are. Are they entangled in organs? Are they entangled in my chakras? I mean,
Mhm.
there's a process to it, and it's a deeper way of doing this, and it's very awesome. And two things can happen: either you neutralize, you move on, or two relationships come back together. I've seen it millions of times. When you do a detangling thing, you do a spiritual divorce, two people that have been having issues can fix their marriage, for example. Or a parent with their son, they're not speaking to each other, and they have all these entanglements, and all of a sudden, boom, they come together. Or it's been 20 years and you haven't spoken to your mother. You do a spiritual divorce and boom, you speak to them again. So we integrate the trauma. We need to find out also what patterns have been created with those filaments. That entanglement has frequency, it has pattern, has beliefs, has a bunch of stuff. So that information also needs to be integrated. So I put it together, and a method kind of burst from my years of experience, and it's fun. I love it.
I love it too, and I'm glad I learned your way of doing it
Yeah.
before, because I didn't know much. I'm sure it's even progressed since I learned, but I didn't know much about cord cutting beforehand.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of like how I started. But a couple of things popped up when you were talking. One of them was when I was facilitating something like this for someone, and we went through this like process, and she had this very very huge visceral reaction afterwards, and was
Mm-hmm.
just pretty floored. And then she says to me, she's like, I've done hundreds of cord cutting exercises,
Mm-hmm.
like why was that so different?
Mm-hmm.
And I was, at the time, I didn't really know, but I think your explanation can answer that for her now.
And hopefully you
uh,
can come and get certified and really learn it really awesome, because I think that you gravitated to my energies because you have similar liked energies, and it's a powerful energy to do surgery. It's a psychic surgery, really.
yeah.
And I've had people kind of break down. So you really have to be trained for it, because a lot of people are like, yeah, let's do some healing. No, you really have to really be serious about it. People break down, people have panic attacks, people faint, people don't want to wake up. You have
Hmm.
to really, really know what the hell you're doing, certain pressure points that you want to push in case people don't want to come back into the body. There's stuff that really happens. When you make people feel their trauma, it's traumatic. They're going to relive that. So you have to be really, really specialized in it. And I think that it's awesome. I think we need more of us in the world so that we
Yeah.
can heal and enjoy life the way we should. This earth life is really short. We got to learn, either we live it good or we live it not so good.
Yeah, it's important to be able to have that safe kind of environment, and that's one of the
Right.
biggest most important things for doing trauma work is feeling safe.
Yeah.
Another funny little thing, I'm just curious, this popped up too.
Yeah.
So doing this exercise with people, have you come across people who try to pull it out from the other person?
You can. Well, I
Uh,
mean, you pull it from you. I pull it from everywhere. I go all the way
I,
back.
so I noticed like a lot of some of like the most sensitive of empaths, they think they're supposed to like pull from the other person, and then like still hanging on with like all the cord themselves. I'm like, no, why don't you pull it from you? We're working on you,
Yeah.
and then, like you don't want to
You
take
can.
all of that from them. I mean, you can pull it from him too, but
I break
yeah,
everything.
yeah.
The way that I do it is I just pull, but I mean, there's more. You have to actually clean, you know, on a cellular level, the imprint. of the frequency that was attached to it.
Yeah,
Okay.
almost like a
And
wound. Like you have to go and clean a wound. This
correct.
is like
And just
this
there's a lot of stuff in there that
wound.
comes out. There's like
Yeah.
tons of stuff, and you have to close receptors too. You have to really close those receptors that are actually transmitting. And the more we evolve, it's really not a cord. It's just waves. It's filaments. It's strings. It's soul webs. And so
Just
it's like,
information, right?
yeah, it's information. So it's like entanglements, quantum entanglement. So why is this entangled? Well, I've been studying a lot of quantum physics now because I've been doing a lot of cosmic congresses, and they asked me. So I'm like, okay, let me study a little bit more about it. But I'm not I'm not a quantum physics or like none of that. I did study science a little bit in biology and all of that. But I had a beautiful encounter with Dan Winter. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he was before me in the Congress, and I was able to translate him. And he was talking about, he works with Greg Braden and all these big people, Bruce Lipton and stuff. And he was talking about how longevity waves and how they are and the quantum particles. I mean, it's bizarre for me. I can't even understand their language, but there is a science to what I am doing and what I'm offering in the book. And so I've already sent in it like a signal to the universe that I want to connect to these people, because I would love to do a study of what happens in one of my sessions and the quantum physics behind it, because there is I understand a lot of it, but there's more to the story, and I would love to learn more about it.
Yeah, that'd be really cool to hear
Yeah,
how
because
that explained in all these different angles.
yeah, like we were talking before about the soulmates, what happens, or when people are like their soul families, they come together with their soul stars, and then a quantum entanglement in the form of an infinity kind of happens in the heart energies. So in the toroid. So then of course the toroid is like, and people are experiencing the cosmic orgasm, which is they're actually experiencing their own soul with the other person. That's what it is. So that's why, there's an unlimited honeymoon effect. There's nothing,
Yeah,
awesome.
I like the name Untangled as well. Like that concept. Because maybe a month or two ago now, I don't remember exactly. That's what I was feeling. I was doing, I think it was around when a lot of COVID stuff started, and just using that time to do a lot of really intense work. And this concept of being twisted came up. Like I felt like my heart was twisted, and I was twisted, and I was like, well, okay, like what do I need to do? And then my answer here was unravel, and very similar to untangle. And then I went and did a few day fast vision quest in the woods in nature, and just sat by a tree for 2.5 days with no food, no water, and really to just allow that all to unravel. And those incredible spirits, or you could say untangle. And so I like that too. Can you like paint? So what happens when you untangle? And then I'm assuming you are aligning to your soul and just embodying your soul and being able to live like this soul purpose-led life.
So here's what happens. So I was going to show you the picture, but the soul star, right? So once you're opening all of that, you connect your soul star to your heart chakra. You connect your solar plexus to your earth chakra, your earth star, okay? And then you align everything. And then, of course, you untangle your chakras. And then once that would be like the end. And then I do like part of the therapy, I open Inception, which is I download your original blueprint, okay? So that you can remember who you are faster, quick. You have no time. We got to get that, your cells to like wake up and just activate. You're not broken. You're not shitty. You're not this. You are this. Knowingness, independent signature needs to come out. And right now we need to wake up. So what am I doing different than you are? Nothing. Your God self is activating other dormant gods. That's it. We're all gods. And when I mean that with, the definition, there's so many definitions of God. It's that we are sparks of that living an experience on earth. We've heard that 10 million times. But how are we experiencing on earth? Well, some people use that God frequency to be demonic and to be what's going on in the world now. Or some people use that God frequency to live that honeymoon effect with everything, not only in relationships, with your work, with your passion. You know, if you're a musician, use your musician skills. If you are a medicine woman or medicine man, use your medicine skills. Whatever medicine you're here to bring is what needs to come out and play. And that, I think, is the main purpose, you know, however you want to do it. I can teach you how to do spiritual divorces the way that I feel it should be done. You're going to take it and you're going to do your own thing. And that's fine. That's fine. There's no
That's how
right,
it's
wrong
supposed to be,
way.
right?
That's how it's got to be. That's why, you know, it's awesome. I love it. I love it. I
And
love
so
it.
for any, say someone listening, yeah, especially right now, there's lots of crazy energies going on. They're, an empath, they're sensitive, and they might want
Oh,
to, they maybe have a job or a career that they're not loving right now, or a relationship that's struggling. They're just kind of in that place. What advice would you have for them right now? Perhaps they want to just really kind of live the more soul-led life, figure out what their purpose is, heal some relationships or whatever it might be. What do you got for them? Where
I think,
to start?
yeah, let's, first, I think number one thing that we need to know is that we have to be clear with our intentions. We have to really be clear. So be clear. What do you want? Once you know what you're wanting and what you're desiring, then your desire will start to unfold. If we have a clear message, then, the universe will bring back to us exactly our message. So if your relationship is off, I think that the best way to turn it on is to be honest with yourself. I think that a lot of people, I wrote something today in my Instagram and I said, people are always telling me, I hate this earth. I'm so sick and tired of, I don't feel I belong. Really? Are you sick of being on earth, or are you sick of not being yourself on earth? And then that's why you're pissed. So then get your shit together and start being yourself. How can you be yourself? Well, you have to activate your passion. What is your passion? We all have passions. When people tell me, I have no passion, you have a passion. Is it an art passion? People think, because a passion has to be linked with a talent. Well, maybe you have a talent. Maybe you don't. Maybe you're a writer. Maybe you like writing. Maybe you have a hidden talent. Like I have a friend of mine that all of a sudden she took an art class and she's an amazing painter. She's like, I never knew I had this skill. Well, explore. Explore. Be honest. You're not happy in your relationship? Then tell that person. Talk about it. Stop hiding behind a curtain and then not feeling what you're feeling. Really be honest. I'm not feeling you anymore. I'm not feeling this. And I think that when you're honest with yourself and you're clear that this is not working at work or in my relationship or financially, then you can change your world. You can choose again. We have that ability to choose again and rewrite our script, our stories. But if we don't know what story we're rewriting, then we're going to keep repeating our old patterns. Definitely connect with people like you, me, or people who can help you, open up and clear a little bit of beliefs that are, limiting your capacity to maybe be honest with your relationship or be honest with your work. A lot of people feel like, oh my God, I'm not going to find another job. That's a limiting belief, and if you're having that mindset, then you won't be able to evolve in that best and your better or your next step. So intention, number one, writing is a good way of doing it. Write about your life, start writing yourself, and then you start to see your patterns. Connect with people who have done the work and that can maybe hold your hand through your work. So it's faster, okay? And just go out in nature and have fun. I really believe that you have to have fun. If you bring your childlike self into your adult self, then you start to activate a lot of fun passions. I think that watch your children, watch your son. I bet you that it's so much fun to watch your son play. Does he have any limits? He just does it, right? He just does what he wants. He could cry 1 minute and then the next minute he's laughing. What does that mean? He is embodying everything. He doesn't stop his cry or he doesn't stop his laugh. He just does it. There's no mental fuck, it's just boom. I want it, I grab it, and I'm doing it. I do it, and boom. So if we do this with coherence, it's very important. If we're if we put our life in order, it's important. So another exercise is to look in your life, sit down and see what's out of order. Is my relationship out of order? Is my business out of order? Is my relationship with my children? Or I want children, but I'm scared to have children. Whatever is out of order, write it. Write it. Do an analysis. And then figure whatever way works for you to put your life in order. And then you live in coherence, balance. What is balance? I don't think that there's a specific way of balance. I think that there's happy moments, there's sad moments, but I think harmony would be the best way you want to live. Harmony in my life, harmony in my words, harmony in my thoughts, harmony in my feelings and my reactions. And when I do face my contrast where my shadow pops up, so deal with it and move forward. But don't stay there for a long time, because then you'll experience the dark night of the soul millions of times, and you don't have to go all the way so deep.
Oh, how wonderful. Thank you for that. I love you. Definitely just embody, exactly what you're talking about. It's clear that you're somebody who lives it. You've integrated these divine feminine, divine masculine, these archetypes, the wise woman, right? The healer, all of it is so awesome. I love connecting with people like you.
Yeah.
And you got a quote in there that I'm definitely going to use and share. I like something about you don't hate being on earth, you hate not being yourself. That's so good. So lastly, where can people find you and connect with you? Do you have an email list I can get on to get notified when the book comes out, whatever you got to share? And we'll end it there.
Yeah. You can go on my Instagram. It's at Keep It in the Heart. Okay. And then there's a link, like a little link in my bio. It's like a link tree. And then you can actually join my mailing list. And then I will be letting everybody know when my book is coming out. And I'm always putting up stuff on my Instagram. And of course, my website is keepitintheheart.com. And if you want to read more about spiritual divorces with an S.com, you can. There's a lot of information there. I'm actually updating my site now a little bit to bring it up a notch. I hadn't done a lot of that work now, but I am. And listen, I tell people, if you have questions, write to me. I'll get back to you. I like to respond to anybody who has questions. And then, of course, we do sessions, you do sessions, and we can help you find the right medicine that you need so that you can uplift your life.
All right, everyone, I recommend going and doing all those things, checking it out, and we'll see you next time.
Well, thank you.